I am just delighted to see you all here this morning. I understand we're going to have a welcome back party, which is a great idea, during which I would ask anyone who was either here last week or watched the service if you'd be willing to share any of your Cristiani experiences with me. For those of you who may have missed all of that, we talked about being the doers of good deeds. These don't have to be sweeping Nobel Prize winning things, just the simple things where we share the energy of the Christ that we know we are with the energy of the Christ that others are. And so I hope to hear all kinds of neat things because I had such a good time. I guess I better get to today. Last week I shared with you some of the most powerful gifts I believe unity provides us. That's wisdom, guidance, encouragement, permission, and techniques to stop seeking our truth from anyone or anything outside of ourselves. That we clear ourselves to be able to know, to feel, and then to live from the unerring truth of our truest selves. Each time I think of that, I gotta take a deep breath, so if you wanna join me, feel free. I so treasure these gifts because I was raised in a very strict Irish Catholic family. I used to see heads nodding when I say that, but it's okay. From the very beginning of parochial school, there was lots of stuff that didn't sit well. What I was told about myself, and certainly what I was told about God. It just didn't feel right. And I didn't dare question it for the fear of eternal damnation. But it all came to a head in the middle of my junior year while attending a Catholic girls' high school. It was during religion class that I sincerely asked, wasn't it bigoted, if not unchristian, to say no one outside of the Catholic Church could be saved? Pretty much got that same silent reaction then too. And also got a this finger response. This finger called to the principal's office. Both of my parents were called. I was expelled that day, and still no one would answer my question. So from that point on, religion got a really hard pass for me, regardless of how it was named. So fast forward to 1985. I was returning to the U.S. from having lived and worked in Australia for 8 years. And as I was settling in here, I kept getting these insistent nonverbal urges to look up an old college friend. This is someone I had not seen at that point in close to a couple of decades. Yet when we met up, I found someone who was literally aglow. He was emanating the most amazing energy, and when we met, instead of greeting him, I said, "Puff, what are you doing?" He said, "Attending the Unity Church and studying A Course in Miracles." Wow. So we arranged to go to church that next Sunday. I had to find out what that glow was all about. As we entered the Unity Church up in Evanston, I saw some literature with the phrase practical Christianity. I will admit to an epic eye roll. I don't know if you could have seen it in the space station, but it was a doozy. Practical Christianity sounded like an oxymoron to me. However, I didn't bolt and run. I wanted to glow too. The minister, whose name I have forgotten, in welcoming everyone to the church said that they were guided by 5 principles. The first being, there is one presence and one power in the universe and in our lives, God the good, omnipotence. as now, it was as if a bolt of lightning hit me. I had never heard anything exactly like that in church. And to this day, I don't remember another thing the man said. I do, however, clearly remember that as the words "God the good" in my life landed, I had the feeling of a massive old hardness begin to soften deep within me. I don't think I cried, but I'm pretty sure I teared up. But it was from relief. I felt as if I had come home, somewhere where I was welcomed, where I was appreciated, and I was realized for being an aspect of the divine. Clearly, I was more than intrigued. I was hooked, and look, here we are, lo, these many years later, and I can still honestly say that the more I study and apply the teachings of unity, I still find some deeply embedded wounds that need to be healed from rigid religiosity. Based on my experience, I have come to use this image to differentiate religiosity from spirituality. When I think of religion and religiosity, it seems to be closed, rigid, intolerant, manipulative, and exclusionary. All interactions are on a one-way transactional basis. Do as you are told, believe as you are told, and you may be okay, no guarantees. While on the other hand, I find spirituality to be open, embracing, inclusive, empowering, healing, and relational. I don't think this cross-formation is at random. I do suspect that it's here to remind us that we must cross out the errors and come into alignment with our one true selves. The wisdom that dawned that day, and I continue to find so healing in unity, revolves around being empowered to reframe, redefine, reconceive of God as a loving, living, beneficent presence, continually and unconditionally empowering each and every one of us to uncover, to recover, to embrace, and to live our own unique, God-given magnificence every moment of every day. Feel free to breathe with me on this one, kids. It's another one of those biggies. And we do what we are guided to do, confidently, joyously, and fully, that we live out that unique role we each have in the divine plan. Breath by breath, thought by thought, relationship by relationship, action by action. In the top tier of their greatest hits in my mind, Charles and Myrtle Fillmore replaced the definition of God from a remote abstract entity that was to be appeased, bribed, and cajoled, and replaced it with a presence that is to be embraced and to be experienced, not merely as an intellectual exercise, but as a constant, felt life companion. Equally essential, I believe, is that the Fillmores taught us that we must engage both our intellectual natures and our emotional natures. The masculine, linear, rational parts of us, the feminine, intuitive, emotional, feeling aspects of us, if we are going to fully embrace the concept of God that they tell us God is, and as we practice this, we too begin to understand. Another one of those breaths, kids. Some of the wisdom of unity restates the Trinity, still reflective of the words that are traditionally used. However, the concepts are not burdened with the conditionality, the remoteness, and the transactional baggage that is found in all of the major religions. Our Trinity rather reflects phases or aspects of God. mind, idea, expression. Divine mind is God, that absolute, unconditional, unchanging good, ever present, yet an ineffable presence that underpins and sustains everything. Right here, right now, no distance, no conditions needing to be met. You may want to breathe that in with me, my friends. That was another of those biggies. The divine idea is Christ, the perfect human idea, made in the image and likeness of God, most fully expressed through the elevated state of consciousness that Jesus had, and yet we are all able to attain that same state of consciousness. And then there's divine expression, spirit, the pressing out of God into action. That spirit is the breath of life that animates us to action. Good time to have another one of those breaths, don't you think? I see some of the guidance from Unity in Principle 2. Our essence is of God, therefore we are inherently good. A quick review of this principle is, when we choose to come into this manifest realm, we continue to exist in the divine idea. Yet we generate a soul, a unique coalescing of energies and lesson plans that we wish to experience when we come onto this manifest plane. And so we come into physical expression, still existing in divine mind as a divine idea. We appear as a finite body, as a divine expression. Yet we also possess all the incredible gifts and powers with which we too can manifest miraculous outcomes. It all has to do with where we put our attention and our focus. In Unity, we teach that we are endowed with three distinct and powerful aspects of mind: the subconscious, the conscious, the superconscious. Again, a review. The subconscious mind is where we are hardwired for all of our physical processes. We don't have to think about breathing or digesting or our heart beating. We're wired for it. And yet this is also one of those amazing places where every experience we have had, whether we have recognized it or not, is filed away. The good, the bad, the true, the false. Then there's our conscious mind. This is this part of us where we direct our attention. And here lies our pivotal ability to, with awareness, focus on thoughts, beliefs, and actions that will bring us into the most complete expression of our true selves. And my favorite is the superconscious. This is where we have that direct connection to God that is always existent, that is always being infilled, waiting for us to tap into it. It's there when we raise our vision above the appearances of what's going on, and we enable ourselves to see with new eyes, to know with quiet conviction how it is that we are being guided, that we live in the kingdom. As I think of these three aspects of mind, I like to think of us as godlings. In the third principle, we find wisdom, guidance, and encouragement. That is, we are co-creators with God, creating reality through thoughts held in mind. There are two incredibly powerful teachings to support this contention, and they are the law of mind action and our 12 powers. Simply stated, to remind you, the law of mind action says, thoughts held in kind produce after their kind. Thoughts held in mind produce after their kind. Or as the Bible tells us, as one thinks, so one is. As we grow in awareness of this power, as we train ourselves to raise our focus, lift our attention and our thoughts up into our superconscious minds, we encourage God to guide us. We engage God in guiding us and supporting us in manifesting the best outcome for the highest good for for all involved in each and every circumstance. Another of the remarkable teachings embedded here is the 12 powers, and I know I have spoken here about this in the past. I like to call these our divine natural aptitudes. These are the inherent building blocks that God has wired us with, that are this process of moving into the highest expression of our divine selves. This allows us to think, to assess, and to do what it is we are urged or guided to do. Very briefly, that's imagination, strength, power, order, wisdom, will, enthusiasm, renunciation or elimination, faith, understanding, love, and life. Each of these ideas are agents that help us to live creatively. It is we who are constantly shaping our experiences by what we think and what we focus upon. It's so nice to be reminded that we are not the victims of some mercurial deity. Another of those little breakdowns. Our fourth principle gives us techniques to achieve our greatest selves. It is through prayer and meditation we align our heart-mind with God. Denials and affirmations are tools we use. We are called to continually become more conscious and aware of our thoughts, because they can, and in fact often do, lead us to either a heaven or a hell. A personal trigger I've discovered, and I believe I may have shared before, is there is an unerring signal that tells me it's time for me to use denials and affirmations. I've come to understand what it feels like when I'm out of my peace. Anyone else? When that happens, I stop and ask myself, what tense is my mind running in? Invariably, it's either a rehashing of the past or an imagining the future. And I cannot be successful until I come permanently in the present moment, as each present moment evolves, that I may truly commune with God. Again, a quick review in formulating a denial. That doesn't mean we pretend that we aren't having those thoughts or feelings that are so upsetting. And it certainly doesn't mean that we deny that some challenge that's appearing before us is not happening. What it does mean is that we can always choose to withdraw any energy or power that we have put into those beliefs, those thoughts, or the appearances of those circumstances. We are in charge of defining if they are for us or against us, supporting us in our growth, or blockades to it. And when we do write or speak that denial, do so being able to trust that as you are doing that, you are beginning to unravel them. And then a statement of affirmation that makes firm what is the truth. God is present in every situation. This is a thought, I release it. My energy is being put into being the most Christ-like being I can be in this circumstance. Show me what it is you want me to be. For doing is secondary to being. And finally, there's principle 5. Through thoughts, words, and actions, we live the truth as we know it. We are all in evolution here, my darlings, all of us. It's so wonderful, it's so exciting to see this in each other, to reach out to each other. And as we study, apply, and demonstrate and embody what unity teaches us, we too are becoming those noticeable lights, just like my friend. We find ourselves centered and living more and more in the present moment, unshaken by appearances, being the peace, the love, the understanding, and the compassion that fills us and applies in every situation and fills our every need. It's in the supplying of what we know, the listening for and following the guidance we receive, that we fully manifest the unique divine idea that only we can be and we can fulfill in this time, at this place. Something's been nagging me this last week, and it has to do with the burgeoning violence. Again, I feel very dismayed and unhappy about this. It is almost as if violence is becoming a parallel epidemic to COVID. So I'm going to ask you, as sort of a continuation on that cresting on the idea that being the doer of good deeds, I'm going to ask you to set a particular time each day, and for 10 minutes in prayer, seek how you can be dissolved in any scar tissue you may have of rigid religiosity. How you can empower yourself and everyone in your life to let go of any of those old institutionalized thoughts that demean or dehumanize anyone else. And ask you to see peace, literally embracing the entire world. Every soul, every nationality, all faiths are entitled to live with the respect, the love, the understanding, compassion, and in unity as we understand we are here to be. I really do believe that as we do this, there will be change in the world, for we are withdrawing that power from violence of any kind, and we are affirming what is true, that God is present to every one of those souls in every circumstance. And as we trust that, as we listen to that guidance, we will be led to do what it is that we are to do, that we may all live in the kingdom of heaven. I kind of think too, kids, that I was hearing Imagine all last week after the service. Thank you, Tatiana. But this week, what I'd like to do is I have asked Tatiana if she would play What a Wonderful World. The lyrics of which I'm sure some of us of a certain age may remember fairly well. This was a Louis Armstrong massive hit. The lyrics are, I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and you. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see skies of blue and clouds of white, bright blessed day, the dark sacred night. Of people going by, sorry, I skipped a whole thing. I see skies of blue and clouds of white, a bright blessed day, the dark sacred night. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, are also on the faces of people going by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you. And I seem to be missing the last verse. So what? It's still a beautiful world. And Tatiana is going to transport us into it. Take it away, Tatiana. As comfortably as you can. Again, if it's comfortable, feet on the floor, spine's nice and straight. And let us take a deep, conscious breath. On this first breath, feel how Spirit as she enters calms us, quiets us, settles us. And as we release, we are opened yet again for the next infilling of that presence, that power, that life, that wisdom, that love. And again we breathe, grateful, healed, quickened, yet calmed. this morning, holding the consciousness of when we pray, it is not only for ourselves, but it is for others, our brothers and sisters everywhere. Where we open ourselves to the wisdom of Spirit, as she gently leads us, guides us, shows us what it is that we are to be, and from that, what it is that we may do to fulfill our promise as the beloved of God. So on these next few breaths, I invite you to allow any unraveling of knots or obstacles that you have. Feel them being loosened and let go. Grateful for the lessons that we have learned from them, and open to even greater understanding of what it is we are to be now. And on this next breath, dear one, I invite you to open your heart to a clear understanding of how it is Spirit wishes to express through you as we move into the silence, that we may hear her powerful voice. Sweet, sweet Spirit, we are so grateful, so very grateful that you enter us as you do the 7+ billion souls around this planet, thousands of times each day, renewing us, quickening us, guiding us, loving and healing us. For the truth of this, for the experience of this, for the realizing this, and for the expectation of this, to bring us to the fullest expression we are here to be, God's divine